No BS Craig, and today we are here with our Pasadena Small Business Success Summit speaker, Melanie Benson. Welcome, Melanie.
Hello.
Yes, welcome. Well, the summit is about 17 days away. Can you believe that? It came just like that. Last year it did the same thing. It just all of a sudden it snuck up on me, and there it was. But we are 17 days away, and the whole reason for this little Facebook Live is so that you in our group here can get to know Melanie Benson, who I've known for, 11 years. It's gone back
Maybe
a while.
longer.
Probably longer, through MySpace days, if anybody here remembers MySpace. Anyway, so welcome, Melanie, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited about the summit. It's not very often that something happens in my backyard that's so fantastic.
I know, it's such a grand and important event right in your backyard.
Transformational.
Yes, well, some people on this watching this live will know that you came out and spoke to our group a few years back.
Oh, that's
To our
right.
EMP group, and you left an impression with everybody there. So I hope we get a bunch of people out who saw you there and can make up. But for the people who don't know Melanie, why don't you tell us a little bit of who you are, okay, what you do, your background, and how you kind of got into this line of work for what you do.
Well, I'm sure you know service professionals, Craig, and entrepreneurs and people who are really passionate about their work, but they're kind of struggling to monetize all that passion. And I think in our industry, I see all the time coaches and consultants and people who want to make a difference. They want to have an impact, and they just want to have a business that lets them live their life a little bit instead of being in the work the whole time. That's what I do, is I help people learn how to take their business and really create a business model and a success mindset that allows them to outperform their wildest expectations. So we're usually working on things like how to become more prosperous. Once we're more prosperous, how to become more profitable, and how to optimize a business so it's not constantly devouring every second of our day to keep up with it. So I don't know if you know anybody like that that's struggling with those things. I seem to run into a lot of them in my 18 years of working with business owners and entrepreneurs. And a little bit of background. So I got into business being my own business owner in, I think it was about 2001 actually. And my early days were really awful. Like, I was super passionate about everything that I had learned in my coach training, but I would talk to people and there would be this glazed eye look, right? Like, okay, why do I care? And I discovered that even though I was super passionate and I knew I could help people get results, I had absolutely no idea how to translate my gifts, my superpowers, into results for my clients in the language I used. Right. So I was walking around struggling to just get by on $500,000 a month. You know, we both live in LA, Craig. I'm sure everybody listening is probably near LA or in Southern California area. It is impossible to live on $1,000 a month. Right. So I had to figure out how to fix that. And that's where a lot of my mindset work and the things we're going to talk about on being a high achiever and a high earner came to me, is really learning how to take our mind and turn it into a high performing, high earning system, or a machine, we might even call it, so that you're not letting the inner game, those thoughts, beliefs, fears that you've had all your life, dictate what's possible for you and what you can earn. So,
yeah, we've had several conversations about mindset, and I've struggled with it over the past umpteen years. You know, my own head trash and my own beliefs and all those things. And so you've been of extraordinary value to me. And I know that people who heard you speak at the EMP event got tremendous value from that too. And last year I heard you at Jim Palmer's event, speaking on the same topic. So tell us what the presentation title is for the summit this year, and describes what people are going to learn from it.
I believe we settled on how to be a high earner, high achiever. High achiever. They're all kind of synonymous, right? Like, you're a high achiever, then we have to translate that to being a high earner. And that's what we're going to be talking about, is what are the internal mindset shifts you can make immediately that will translate to more money, achieving more of your boldest goals, and really like enjoying a business that allows you to have a life. And I think that's one of my big passions, is if we're going to create a business, we might as well make it so that it serves us to have a lifestyle, right? Otherwise, we've just recreated a job.
Right.
And even if you're really passionate, excited about what you do, I believe we should have a business that affords us in both time and money to do the things we really love.
Yeah, well, the theme of this summit is building the business of your dreams. And we have our friend coming out from the East Coast, Jim Palmer, who is the dream business coach. Yes, Jim Palmer in the house. Captain Jim Palmer.
Captain Jim.
Who is actually living his dream. He has a dream business and he's living his dreams, his dream lifestyle. How does mindset tie into developing that?
Yeah. Well, I love that you brought up Jim, because Jim and I have also known each other for many, 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 many years, probably 14 or 15 years. He was in a lot of my early programs. And we did a lot of mindset work together over the years, which he talks about in his book, Decide. As a matter of fact, we kind of unofficially co-wrote the book. But what we would discover is that you can be super smart. You can have a lot of talent. You can have all the determination and passion in the world. But if you have what you called earlier head trash, meaning beliefs, fears, I call them sneaky saboteurs. They are thought processes that actually steal your motivation and your ability to take action, because you create this story that you can't have something or achieve something that actually is really possible. And what I personally discovered in my own journey, I mentioned earlier that I had kind of got to this $500,000 a month, and I was like, I couldn't get past that. We have set points. We have financial set points that we unconsciously establish that we cannot get past that set point without massive amounts of overwhelm, exhaustion, fear. Think of it like your comfort zone. And so when we are stepping into this journey of being responsible for our own income, and we have a set point, usually it's set how low? Way too low.
Right.
And it doesn't equal what we need and or can achieve. And so we've got to get the internal engine, think of this like the engine of your car, and your decision making and your actions are the tires that move you forward. And think of it like the road you go on is your blueprint. And if your blueprint is set for do just as little as possible, don't say yes to the things that will really get you there because they're too scary and big, then you'll always hold yourself back. And I think that's where a lot of people experience that frustration and overwhelm, and they don't have to. It's because their mind is programmed for low success instead of high success, or they're in struggle mode all the time instead of thrive mode.
Right. You speak all around the country and on some of the biggest stages around, and all types of different audiences. What kind of types of people, so dentists, lawyers, professionals, basic solopreneurs, what type of people do you usually work with? And can you cite maybe a case study or something of people that you worked with? And what? Of course.
Well, I've got a gazillion, so I'm just letting one land here. Okay, so, one that comes up for me is there's a dentist that I've worked with who is in our area. And, he's really talented. He does everything right in the action side, but he had some trauma in his life around his children and, had gone through a divorce, I believe, and had a lot of personal stuff that happened to him. And so he was like not taking the actions to actually build his business, because deep down inside, he had one of the top 3 sneaky saboteurs. He had this conflict about, if I build my business bigger, what if I need to do something to take care of my family? So what happens is, and this is a big one, I worked with people of all levels of success on this one. If I have more success, I may not be able to do whatever this thing is over here that they want. Right. And that's called an internal conflict. And we go to war with ourselves because 2 goals feel like they're unattainable if we do them together. And so what we had to do is I use some techniques. I call them recoding, where I recode your money DNA blueprint so that success feels automatic instead of like a struggle or you have to work way too hard for it. And so we worked on that. And what we did was we uncovered this limiting belief that I can't have this and that. There's no rule that says that. We make this stuff up based on our fears and probably past track records of not having better resources and strategies. And once we dissolved that, he could see very easily, oh, if I did A, B, and C, I would be making my income goal. But here's the interesting thing, Craig, and I know you've bumped up against this with your clients, and we all do this in ourselves. He couldn't see that until we cleared out the limiting belief. Right. It's almost like it was in the shadows or in another room over there in the castle, right? So you have to clear the block out so that your vision can actually see what's already right in front of you.
Right. That's a great example. One of my limiting beliefs was that if I make the money, it'll be taken away from me.
Yes, that's a big one.
That stemmed way back when I was a young entrepreneur, a kid, and my mother stole my money. Long story about that, but she took all my money, and I had made a lot of money as a teenager because I was inspired to. My dad, it's part of my story. My dad, was giving my sister an allowance of $5, and he was giving me 50 cents. And one day I figured it out. I said, "What the heck?" And he goes, "I'm going to tell you something very valuable." He goes, "If you want more money, go earn it." So I got like multiple paper routes. I mowed every lawn on my hill. During the winter, I shoveled every driveway on my hill. I even got other kids to shovel for me and take a piece of the pie, hung Christmas lights, all that stuff. And so I made a very significant amount of money at a young age. And then went to the bank one day and found out that it had never been deposited from my mom. So, and my mom has passed away. God bless her and God bless her soul. But, and I've dealt with those issues. However, I've dealt with the fact, well, that's another story. Anyway.
Hold on, but I want to go somewhere with this. You have just brought forward a exquisite example of how our mindset is basically the blueprint for what we will achieve. And so and everybody has one, right? Because most of our parents were not that excellent at giving us good blueprints, right? They're just running off theirs. And what happens is we make a decision in that moment, which is what you did as a young child. Like, oh my God, I can't protect my money. Why would I earn it? Right? Or whatever decision you made. And so then you operate from that belief and you run around as a human being collecting evidence to support it.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's a little thing like I have to work really hard to make more money because that's what we see our parents do, or a big thing like if I make money, someone could just take it from me and I have no control. Right. And so the opportunity, and this is what we do in recoding, and basically in 5 minutes or 50 minutes, we can actually dissolve almost every barrier on the planet. And all it takes is understanding what that original imprint is. We recondition it for success, because most of us make up a story that conditions us for failure or for mediocrity or for suffering, right? And all it takes is I use certain techniques to go in and tell your brain that it was a different experience, and it is a different experience. We can make a decision what it means.
Right.
That's what's so powerful.
Yeah.
And so, we could apply this to anything. I was working with a woman a few years ago who was very successful in the Atlanta area. And she was making, $150,000 a year easily, but she was working more than she wanted to. And so when we started doing what we call the money DNA recoding, what we discovered was she had this deep, deep belief that no one would ever support her. So guess what? It was from a childhood experience. She locked in this story called, I can't count on anyone supporting me. Instead of saying, okay, I can't get support this way, so I need to go a different way, right? That's resourcefulness. And we reframed it, and she realized she was holding back from hiring the team she needed. Right. And the only team she would hire are the people that would always let her down.
Right. Oh,
so
God.
I can give you thousands of stories like this from myself, from other people, but it's oftentimes that simple. And here's what's interesting, Craig, is sometimes it's really hard to uncover it on your own because you basically built this little like story up in your mind and it's now your reality. And you're not trained to see the same things that a coach will see. So it can be sometimes difficult to find it on your own, which is why I'm so excited. We're going to come into Pasadena and we get to do some really powerful exercises to uncover what our mindset is programmed for. Are we programmed for high success and achieving more, or are we maybe running a struggle or overwork program?
Right. It's so powerful. I mean, I know from working with my clients from a marketing strategy, I can tell immediately if it's a marketing issue, I hear an echo all of a sudden. Do you have you on Facebook at all?
I can close it down.
Close out Facebook.
Try that.
Anyway, there we go. No, I still hear it. Anyway, the point being, when I'm working with my clients, I can immediately tell if it's a Facebook. That was funny. If it's a marketing issue, a mindset issue, or an economic issue, and most times it's a mindset and an economic issue. The marketing part is the easy part. It's getting past the mindset that they don't even realize might be there. But, there's people that jump into business from nothing and start making six figures right away. And then there's people who come in and can't make $20,000 a year. And their business comes because people just ask them about it versus them marketing and promoting it. And so, I know just from the registration list, there's going to be at least 50 people there that are going to love to hear you speak. But everybody needs this, because even the people that are making six figures, how do they go to seven figures? It's like, what's preventing me from and it's not marketing, because marketing's the easy part.
It's just fine tuning, right? It's like those little hinges that swing big doors. Is sometimes we don't even realize where we've become a bottleneck, because the way we think is limiting what we can achieve. Can we just talk about marketing and mindset for a minute?
Absolutely.
This is a big opportunity to come learn some of the best marketing techniques to not just be successful, but to have a dream business. But I have noticed, and this is a pattern since I started working with entrepreneurs 18 years ago, that oftentimes people have created this mindset that they either don't want to or can't market properly.
Right.
Have you noticed that as well?
Yes. So what's your opinion about it?
Well, so first of all, sometimes it's just not knowing how to market yourself well, which we're totally going to tackle at the summit. But secondly, sometimes we make up these stories that we're not good at something because we're bumping up against some fears, some limitations, and some kind of a story we've made up about it. I was working with a woman who's she's a coach. And she does this really interesting thing in the beauty world. Like she's works with estheticians.
Right.
And she's been doing this a really long time. Like I knew her way back when I started, and she had just hired me to coach her this year because she's like, okay, I'm still facing the same problem. Something else is going on. And what we realized is that she had this whole like resistance to marketing her business in a way that would actually work. She's like, I only want to do the things I want to do. Guess what? That's a fear or limiting belief or conflict that's actually surfacing as resistance.
Right.
And a lot of times people are procrastinating, or they're in this resistance and they can't, they're going to specialists like, help me get past this procrastination, maybe even getting some hypnosis, and it doesn't take. And that's because there's this deep-seated conflict. And we got to figure out what that conflict is so that you can take the right actions at the right time to grow. So, I was mentioning the esthetician consultant, the lady that works in the esthetician world. And here's what was really interesting. We figured out what her limiting belief was around it. And that was she had this deep fear about being seen. I know you've probably run across this. People have this fear of actually being more visible. Like there's this, I want to be more successful, but I kind of like don't know if I want to be seen, or, they're afraid something bad's going to happen to them, or maybe people are going to try to take advantage of them. There's a lot of things that people deal with. And we got rid of that. We dissolved that. And all of a sudden she was hiring a marketing person. She was getting someone to write copy. She was doing webinars, and she was all fired up to do the things that she resisted for years. Wow. It's like little linchpins that you pull out, and then all of a sudden you're no longer resisting or stuck on something.
Yeah, I see it a lot with people saying, like I had one, I won't tell you exactly what he does because he'll know it's about him, but someone who is a professional who thought he had to spend more time on certifications and getting better at his craft. And he's already fantastic at what he does. And I was like, you can improve what you do, but, you have to be okay with, if you want what you say you want, if you want six-figure business or a dream business or whatever, you've got to get past that. So, and believe it or not, what he does, very much like what you do, except he's not doing it for himself, out there in the world. But I bump into it all the time. People hesitate. They'll make up, our business can't do that. We can't do that in our industry. You have, especially with what I teach, coming from the Dan Kennedy world, is a category of one marketing, being willing to stand out and be in your own spotlight, if you will, right? Being the only one who does what you do, breaking all the rules, breaking industry norms. Those are mindset shifts that you have to get through. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, so some of it's an inner game and some of it's an outer game, right? So we're constantly integrating, what do we have to know inside? What do we have to believe in order to take certain actions that will generate the right results? So one of the things we're actually going to look at the summit is, what are our high payoff activities? High achievers know what their high payoff activities are, and they make sure they're doing those the most. And then when you're not doing your high payoff activities, we have to look at, what do you need to believe in order for that to be true? Right. Well, one of the things that happens is we believe that if you build it, they will come, right? Or you believe that if I can, maybe I'll hire somebody to do that part of my business, right? And that's good. Like, we want you to hire us. We want you to hire coaches and consultants, but you can never replace you and the passion you have for your business. So we have to start breaking down what I call the myths of success and replace them with the proven mindsets of high success. And by the way, I should say something, Craig. Everybody gets to define what success looks like for them. Like, if you're not driven for 7 figures, okay. But what are you driven for? Do you want to help more people? Do you want to have more life? Do you want to work a 30-hour work week and make 6 figures plus so you have all your bills taken care of? What is your driver? That's what I care about. You don't need to take my vision. You don't need to take Craig's vision. You don't have to listen to any of the speakers and take their vision. But what you do need to do is know what gets you lit up, fired up, and ready to conquer the world in your version. And that in itself can be one of the most amazing motivators on the planet, is getting totally plugged in to your version of success. And so that's one of the things that we'll do a little bit with when we get to the summit is, how do you define success? And do you have the right mindset and the right habits and strategies to achieve that? Yeah.
Thank you. And in between sessions, in between speakers, I'll be doing little mini presentations. And I was just writing down, let's start that process, get them thinking about it in the beginning. And then when they hear you and Jim at the end of the day, that'll all come back, because it'll germinate throughout the whole event, right?
Cool.
So yeah, that's powerful. Well, I forget what I was going to ask after that, but anyway, I do have other questions for you. So we already asked. I was going to ask, what are some reasons people haven't achieved that? You kind of talked about that. Can you share one big tip that people watching this right now can use before they get to the event that might put them in a frame of mind of thinking like a high achiever?
Well, so one of the big insights I had along the way, and then realized this is chronic across the board with people who struggle versus people who thrive financially, and that is how you decide to grow your business. So let me give you a little formula, because I found this to be universal. If you are somebody who waits until you have all the things in place and then you act, you will always feel like you're behind. You will always feel like growth is slower than you want. So that might look like, I'll use the example of investing in a program or coach, or some kind of a marketing package, something that you want to grow. I see people all the time go, well, I don't have the money, so I'm going to have to wait. But guess what happens when you're waiting? Nothing. Because you're going to continue to approach your success the way you have right now. And we all know that old saying that you can't solve a new problem with the thinking that you created this problem with.
Right.
So here's what revolutionized my life is, instead of how I have to wait till I can afford it, I started to ask myself better, more resourceful questions. So if I wanted something, it's like, what would have to happen right now to allow me to take this step forward? So would I have to have clarity? Would I need clarity on how this would pay off? Would I need to be willing to invest now in success I would have down the road? Would I have to know, okay, so this investment is like $50. If I got at least one great idea, it was worth every penny I spent, right? Or let's say it's a $500 a month investment, which, by the way, is exactly how I got myself unstuck from being at $1,000 a month. I was going to hire someone who was $500 a month to help me do the things I couldn't do to grow. And they were $500 a month. I'm like, okay, well, how many clients do I need to have come on to make up that $500 a month? 2? Okay, done. I had 4 new clients within 2 weeks of hiring that person. So then I was profitable. So we have to change the way we think. And I'll tell you, Craig, the single biggest thing, and Jim wrote about this that we uncovered along the way in the book Decide, you have to make a decision. Because here's what happens. Here's why the people around you are going at the speed of light and you feel like you're crawling forward. Because you are not all in. There is power in a commitment. There's power in making a decision to have what you want, even if you don't know how. And this is the biggest thing you have to know. You do not have to know how when you move forward on a decision. You just have to decide, because when you decide, your energy changes, your mind starts to solve new problems, you get resourceful, and you will see opportunities and a path that you can't see when you're in ambiguous zone. So what I always tell people is, you want that? Decide you will have it. Commit. So this might sometimes come up when people want to work with me. They're like, I want to, but I don't have the money. Have you decided? No. Okay, well then we're not all in. If you commit and decide, I'll show you how to make the money.
Right.
And that's what happens. See, can I share a quick story around that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I had somebody who wanted to book a VIP day with me one time. And, it was $10,000. She didn't have the money. And she's like, I know I need to do this, but I don't have the money. And I said, are you in? Are you committed to starting whatever the date was? She said, yes. And I said, then I'll show you how to make the money. So I gave her an exercise. And 24 hours later, we had an appointment to talk. She had come up with a plan based on this exercise. And the exercise was this: go make a list of every crazy idea you have that would get that money in the door in 7 days or less. She's like, that won't work. Try it. 24 hours later, she knew exactly what to do. She hired me. We created her plan. It was like, okay, why did I wait so long?
Right.
We can be more resourceful when we make the decision.
Yeah, that's powerful. When I work with Jim is like that too. It's just like, come up with crazy ideas. It's like, he asked me a series of questions. I'm like, but I did it. And then sure enough, $2,500 extra a month, just from that one little thing. It's why it's important to have a coach to help you come up with things that you can't come up with on your own.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And by the way, coaches have coaches. We all have to get out of our own way. It's so easy to become our own bottleneck. If you are in a bottleneck right now, or you've been stuck, maybe you've been bumping up against not knowing what to do, you're not alone. Everybody does this. That's the human condition. The trick is knowing what to do and having different resources and tools in your toolbox so you don't stay stuck there.
Yeah.
And having a coach, going to programs like Craig's hosting the summit, this is how you get unstuck.
Right. Yeah, so eloquently said. So we're about to wrap up shortly. So any last words about what people can expect from your presentation?
Sure.
And again, just another push on why they should get to the summit.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me just start with what happens at the summit. I know it's a commitment of time. I know it's a commitment of money, although I think this investment to come is so crazy realistic.
I paid $2,000 to attend events before. This is $67 for crying out loud.
And so, again, what I want you to think about is what could happen that you can intend for. So could you intend for a breakthrough? Could you intend for learning just one great idea that if you went home, you could actually 10x your results, right? But here's another reason why I want you to come. You never know what's going to happen in that room. I go to events and I meet people, and opportunities to speak, opportunities to get on podcasts, opportunities. I have clients come out of pretty much every event I ever go to, whether I'm attending or speaking, and go to the event and meet people, connect with people, ask questions, come up and go to the VIP lunches with the speakers and talk with us. And you will be blown away at what you're capable of doing when you leave. You'll be blown away at the opportunities that come out of this that you can't even imagine right now, because you cannot plan for all of the amazing synchronicities that happen when you've got big thinking, bold playing entrepreneurs in a room. So that's my plug is, if you want to really speed things up, get in rooms with other people who are moving at the speed of light. And then, what we're going to do is I want you to imagine that you could turn up the dial in a way that feels expansive, right? So I want your growth to start feeling exciting, inspiring, and expansive. So if you're not performing at the level you want, we're going to get you out of struggle mode and into thrive mode by changing some of your current approaches. Like, I think of it like I'm going to give you a little installation of a new program in your brain. And if you're already operating at a high level, but maybe you're overwhelmed, you can't really sustain this pace, then we're going to actually shift how you approach your growth so you can do it in a more sustainable way. And if you're already on fire and you're like, I'm at the top of my game, then guess what? We'll do some little tweaks that'll fire you up and get you what we call even in more flow, like finding that flow state.
Awesome. Well, I love hearing you speak. I love you. You're wonderful. You've been a great friend to me and a great supporter of me for the last umpteen years since MySpace. Remember that?
Got
MySpace.
it. I
reached out to her on MySpace as a friend, and my life has never been the same. But anyway, what I want to say is come out and listen to Melanie's presentation, how to think like a high achiever, and fix any mindset stuff that you might have, things you don't even realize you might have. I know it's been huge breakthroughs, and I still have work to do. We all constantly have work to do, but I have benefited from Melanie's expertise. I've benefited from her friendship. So please come on out. So Mel, stay on here. I'm just going to give a little commercial for the summit. So we are 17 days away from the Pasadena Small Business Success Summit, the first annual event. This is our second event. We have some great speakers here, along with Melanie, Jim Palmer, Captain Jim Palmer, who is the Dream Business Coach. And his speech, or his topic, which we've developed the whole event around, is how to create your dream business and live your dream lifestyle. Jim is a prime example of that. He's going to tell you an entire story. In fact, this coming Friday, we're doing a Facebook Live with him where you can get to know him and hear his story. We have Claudia Sheridan coming back, talking about 5 essential strategies for Facebook marketing. We have TJ Mercer, who you may have seen in our previous Facebook Live. She's got energy, man, and she loves to hug, so come and see her. She's going to talk about how to get massive exposure in the media. We have Greg Apodaca, who's a local guy who created Leadership Pasadena, which is a community involvement event. It's a leadership program for community people. Hard to explain, but I'll do that when we do our I'll explain that better. Isn't that horrible when I'm trying to sell something and I can't explain it? But we'll have him on Facebook Live very shortly. You get to see him. We have Carmen Torres coming back, who Carmen is the genesis of this event. And small short story, quick, Jim Palmer suggested I have Carmen Torres come out and speak at my local event, and I said, no, I think I'll create an event, and the summit was born of that conversation. So Carmen is an HR expert. She's going to talk about how to hire right and knowing the laws for 2018 if you want to grow and scale your business. And then me, I'll be there. I'm marketing and money-making strategies, and I've got some surprises for you. Things that you don't hear, things that will shock you, that if you're ready to create your dream business, these will help you get there. These will be the tactical and strategic ways to help you get there. So if you want to come, get your tickets at www.pasadenasummit.com. And Melanie, what is your code? Do you remember?
I'm sorry?
Do you remember your coupon code so that people can save 20%?
M. Benson?
M. Benson. So use M. Benson.
I'll double check and put it in the comments. How's that?
That's all right. M. Benson. And that will show that you were listening to this Facebook Live, and that you'll save 20% off the $67 ticket price, which is currently in place. Tickets go up to $97 in a week. So, 20% off. So this is a
good day to say yes.
Yeah, it's a good day to say yes. And yes. So, Melanie, you are awesome. Thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to hear your presentation again at the summit. And for those of you who are watching this, please get your tickets now. If you haven't already, tell others. Share this video with them and let them know. Number one, let them hear Melanie now, and but have them come to the summit to hear Melanie, Jim, Claudia, Carmen, TJ, myself, to help build your business of your dreams, you know. So Melanie, last thing, if people want to kind of get a taste of you before they come out, how can they find out more about you?
Well, highly recommend you head over to my Facebook page, Melanie. I think it's Coach Melanie Benson, and you can jump into our free Facebook group. We're doing a lot of really cool stuff with influencers and emerging experts and people who are thought leaders in their space. So you can start tapping into some of these great growth opportunities. AmplifyYourSuccessCommunity.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Melanie. And thank you,
Thanks
everybody, for
me.
watching today. And I hope we see you at the summit.
Bye, everybody. See you there.